What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. This time, we are going to continue our coverage over Final Crisis, and we actually pick up with some tie-ins that Grant Morrison says is actually very important because he was the one who had written these tie-ins that we are covering, which is Superman Beyond. And no, not the Superman Beyond from the Beyond universe. This is actually the main DC Universe Superman, but before the New 52 reboot going on an adventure that is going to take him beyond what he used to be going on, where he is trying to save his wife Lois and also saving all existence as well. Because remember, at the end of Final Crisis number 2, we saw the Daily Planet get blown up because Libra, the main bad guy so far in this series, was trying to show Lex Luthor that he can hurt Superman, because Libra is this character who is trying to recruit all villains across the planet to help take down the side of good. But to get them to join, he shows them how he can deliver on a promise he makes to every single one of them. So for Lex Luthor, it was a way to hurt Superman, which was to blow up the Daily Planet, which led to Lois Lane getting seriously injured. Now, all of that took place in Final Crisis number 2. But in Final Crisis number 3, we saw that basically while Clark Kent was waiting on Lois Lane to get better, someone came into the room asking Clark Kent to basically help out. If he does, this mysterious person will be able to help Lois Lane heal, and everything is going to be okay for her. But if Clark Kent doesn't help this person, well, we are going to see the end of everything. So Superman has to go with this person to make sure everything survives, which leads into this storyline we are covering that came from Grant Morrison, because Grant Morrison is the one who is writing the main Final Crisis storyline. He made sure to say that these tie-ins are actually very crucial for the entire Final Crisis story that he is doing. So it explains why we have to cover this crazy story. And so getting into today's video, we actually pick up with a character who we have no idea who it is, but he is basically beating down on what seems to be a Superman, Colossus-sized Superman actually. But while this mysterious character is basically defeating Superman, you do have this character say that basically the end is near for everything. And as Superman, if Superman can hear the final beats of a particular person's heart. Now, of course, this takes place in the future, so we have to work our way to this point by going back to the past. Of course, when we do, we pick up with Superman still with Lois Lane, who is in the hospital. Of course, this coming after the scene we saw in Final Crisis number 3. Where you had Clark Kent with his wife hoping that she will recover after the big explosion at the Daily Planet, but while waiting for her to recover, he is confronted by a monitor, and her name is Zillow Vala. And usually monitors are people who watch over the multiverse, but this one is here to recruit Superman and bring him and the other characters that she had recruited to basically stop some kind of evil. Now, this evil is known as the Echo of Midnight, but we don't get the chance to learn more about it for the time being. But we know that this being is going to end everything apparently across the multiverse. So she is asking Superman if he is going to help protect everything that exists or let it all die so he can stay with his dying wife. Of course, Superman is going to say yes, and so he does go with Zillow Vala and begin his adventure into the beyond for this book. But that is the moment you do have Superman and Zillow Vala go on the Ultima Thule, Zillow Vala's ship. Of course, she uses this ship to basically travel between or into different universes across the multiverse. Now, with that being said, that is the moment we see Superman meet the other characters that Zillow Vala had recruited for this special mission. So, for example, one is Shazam, but from Earth 5, where he is basically the main hero in that universe, the replacement of Superman in that universe. Then you have Overman from Earth 10, And on that Earth, basically, Superman was taken in by Nazis, and that was a completely different storyline for Superman. And finally, you have Captain Atom from Earth 4, who is not a Clark Kent. I almost said Captain Kent. Who is not Clark Kent, but a Captain Atom who basically has the powers of Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen. These are the characters that she had recruited. But while meeting these characters, we come to find out that the Vala ship is being attacked by someone. And when Superman tries to use his super sight, he does see the bleed. The bleed is basically the barriers around the different dimensions in the DC multiverse. But the Ultima Tool is being attacked by the Echo of Midnight, which is just a colossal ship with death rays. Except the Echo of Midnight is also falling apart because that ship has been attacked by the last character recruited by Vala, which is Ultraman, who comes from the antimatter universe. This was before it was retconned that he is actually from Earth 3. But either way, he is an evil Superman who has been recruited to help with this battle, and he is using anything or anyone as a weapon to destroy the Echo of Midnight, which he does. But the problem is that the Echo of Midnight begins to slide through different universes, and it is about to crash into Earth 6. And this is an Earth that is alive and was doing well. But if the Echo of Midnight crashes into the Earth, there is going to be a lot of deaths on this Earth. So you have Vala tell Superman to take the Echo of Midnight over to Earth 51 because it is currently a dead Earth. And of course, if it does crash there, nobody will die. After all of that, you do have our superheroes and the Vala crash into an unknown universe. Like, it is literally not on any map. And so, of course, the heroes have no idea where in the world they are at. Now, after Ultraman really argues with the rest of the superheroes, that is the moment they find out that they are basically in limbo. Because they do meet the king of limbo, which is Merryman. Now, I am not going to sit here and really try to explain Merryman, but when it comes to limbo, it is an area where heroes who are forgotten about go to. Really, it's an idea that characters that writers won't use ever or readers have forgotten about end up here in limbo. Later on, they do learn that they are just fictional characters, but when they leave limbo, they forget who they are. Now, if our heroes stay here too long, they will be forgotten on their own universe as well, and forget their universe as well. But of course, with Superman, he feels like he should explore the area, which he does, and he finds the Library of Limbo, which contains one unreadable book with an infinite number of pages, realizing that it should contain information on how to get them out of limbo. Superman and Shazam try to move it to the ship. Instead, it tells them a story in their heads. And this is how the story goes. In the beginning, there was only one monitor. This monitor discovered the multiverse. Then he wanted to investigate the multiverse. The monitor sent a probe, discovering that beings create meanings, conflicts, and events, stories. Unprepared for this new concept, the monitor probe split in two. One half became the array of worlds, while the other became a colossal figure or statue of the greatest hero, a massive golden Superman. The monitor created a progeny around himself, the monitors of the 52 universes of the multiverse. They made their home in a vast city around the golden statue, which began to rust. The legend grew among the monitors that the statue was a doomsday weapon intended to protect them from the ultimate enemy. It becomes attached to the story of Monitor Dax Novu, the Radiant, the first son of the original Monitor, who first explored the multiverse, brought knowledge of the bleed, and eventually gave his life to contain the entity called Mandrake, who is someday to rise against all of creation. But getting back to Limbo, the end of the story really surprised the two heroes. But then Shazam goes back to Billy Batson. But now Billy can only access a fragment of the wisdom of Solomon, which tells him the thing most surprised will say the most beloved. But while Superman is taking Shazam back to the ship, he runs into the court of Limbo, who have come to the conclusion that if something can happen, anything can happen. And of course, they believe they can escape Limbo by using the Ultima tool. However, they are trapped in Limbo. And Superman is forced to leave them behind. And of course, he makes a promise that one day he will be able to save them. As they enter the Zillah chamber, they see her draining Overman's blood. However, this was done for Mandrake, the dark monitor. Almost said dark wrong there. The main bad guy of this story, who was the one who controlled the Echo of Midnight and has a greater weapon at his command. When our heroes look outside, they see the arrival of a colossal machine which shatters the sky of Limbo. And Ultraman, who is holding the infinite book once again and shouting that evil will ultimately win. Now we jump over to chapter 2, which is the last part of this storyline. But it does pick up where the last chapter left off at, where you have Ultraman right now going crazy and wanting to let evil win, which I love how he is the one to be down to let evil win and let this Mandrake character win. It's not surprising or anything, but when I saw he was the one screaming about evil winning and letting evil win, is kind of funny to me because it would be him to do it. But either way, you do have him actually challenge the other characters that were brought to this event to basically battle. Now back on Zillow's ship, you do have Overman wanting to kill her because she did drain his blood, but he's stopped by Billy Batson and he is like, no fam, we ain't going to kill her. Plus, she does give them a warning about Mandrake that could possibly help them win the battle. But you have Billy say the ship that belongs to Zillow, it needed to be repaired. And of course, it took over Zillow's body to repair itself. So again, it kind of explains why Zillow drained Overman's blood. But once we get past all of that, we actually see Zillow kind of help Billy remember how to turn back into Shazam by telling him the word he needs to remember. And so now he is back in action to help the other characters save the day. But getting back to the battle between Superman and Ultraman, and really it is a battle that doesn't really happen because right when you have the two characters are about to do battle, well, that is the moment you have Captain Marvel step in and actually stop them from doing anything at all. Now, thanks to Captain Atom, this is where the story begins to give us a new kind of creation, a new kind of Superman. This gives birth to a robot Superman. Two creatures of different natures are in fact symmetries. If they are combined, they can become a new creature, a robot powered by the opposite essence. Superman agrees to test Captain Atom's theory in exchange for a droplet of the bleed, because the bleed is the only way that could basically save the life of Lois Lane. Because remember, right now, Lois Lane could possibly die in the main DC universe. And so if Superman can find a way to save her life, he is going to take it. And of course, it is a droplet of the bleed. And so then you have Captain Atom combine Ultraman, the hate crime, and Superman, the selfless act character, and send them to a higher realm of existence. Neil, home of the monitors, Superman, and Ultraman, get this guys, combined together into a pure thought, a cosmic robot created by Monitor Dax Novu against the incoming of darkness. Because of his stronger will, Superman is the one in control of this new merge form. So Ultraman has to sit in the back seat. Now, once they do arrive in Neil, Superman is greeted by Monitor Reja Del, the lover of Nix Uton. And remember, Nix Uton is actually the guy in the main Final Crisis storyline who was exiled from the Monitor Paradise City for failing to save Earth 51. But you have Ouija take Superman to the castle of monitors. Superman then finally understands the secret of the multiverse. The monitors are literally just parasites. They are literally vampire gods who have been feeding off the bleed to stay alive. The monitors only trapped Doc's Nouveau because he showed them their true face. But that is the moment we kind of find out who Mandrake is. And basically, he was the one we saw at the very beginning of this storyline. And of course, he does begin his final assault. Now, you do have Superman fly onward to basically confront him. The battle, yeah, is crazy, but Mandrake begins to kind of taunt Superman with the idea of Lois Lane actually dying. But then you have Zilo Vala inspires Superman to never give up by reminding him of his story as a son of Krypton, which honestly is just enough to keep Superman going. But then Mandrake does kill off Zilo, which is kind of like, dude, that is crazy, because he also killed off his former lover, which of course is really messed up. But either way though, you do have Superman attack Mandrake and throw him into the endless abyss surrounding the Nile to never return. Now, once you have Superman being able to actually defeat Mandrake, you do have Superman stumble upon a massive tombstone, and he does write a few words on it. Later on, the cosmic robot form that Superman and Ultraman had made does come undone, and they do return to Limbo, where Superman, Captain Marvel, and Overman destroy Mandrake's army and save Limbo's people. Meanwhile, Ultraman is found by Rox Ogama, a monitor exiled for supporting Mandrake's action. With his master defeated, Ogama has inherited his vampire energies and becomes the new Mandrake, transforming Ultraman into his new vampire Superman. Mandrake plans a dark revenge against Superman. And this is where the story kind of gets a little crazy, and I really hope I understand the ending of the story. But you do have Clark return to his world, and time does move forward. The monitors believe that they were the only ones who could have contained the bleed, but they were completely wrong. That Superman was the one able to contain the bleed within his own body, and then deliver it to Lois Lane with a kiss. In a few moments, she does awake, and of course she does embrace her husband. And she remembers Superman's adventure as a fantastic dream. And that's where the story ends. That was Superman Beyond. And I really hope I did a good job explaining this story. If not, go ahead and tell me in the comments below. But honestly, I do hope I did a good job explaining this story. But with that being said, this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.